What is up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin because I do be reading. And today we are doing the annual mid-year book freakout tag. This has been a staple book tag on BookTube for as long as I can remember, honestly. Definitely for the last decade. I don't recall who the creator of this book tag is, but I'll have all of the questions in the description below so that you can make your own video or answer some of these questions in the comments, because I'd love to know your answers to these questions. So let's just get into it. So as of today, which is June 29th.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
I have read 43 books. 2 books were rereads, so I've read a total of 41 new to me books this year. I'm not going to include the 2 rereads in any of the questions or any of my answers to these questions. So let's get into the questions. The first one, starting off strong. What is the best book you've read so far this year? So I've given only 3 books so far 5 stars. And those 3 books are, first, The Fire on Nope. I keep confusing the title of this book with The Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This was my first James Baldwin, certainly will not be my last. I loved this so much. I had such a good time reading this book. I tabbed so much, and I'm not someone that usually likes to tab or annotate when I read, so that's how you know he was spitting, okay? And I had to remember some of these lines. This is a collection of 2 essays that James Baldwin wrote for the 100th year anniversary of emancipation from slavery. The style of this is as if he's writing these essays kind of like as a letter to his nephew. He is reflecting on the civil rights movement, his own history, a little bit of a memoir style. He's talking about his childhood. There's a lot of heavy emphasis on religion and his experience with religion and other people's religions. It's really fascinating to see his reflections on that and how it ties into the civil rights movement and emancipation. It's just so good. He is, oh my God, R.I.P. He was, he was such a phenomenal writer. And wow, this was so good. This might be my favorite book of the year so far. I'm not sure, but it's definitely top 3, top 2, who knows? Next is Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is my first full-length Toni Morrison. I know, I'm having a lot of firsts this year. I read Recitative, which is a short story that was written by Toni Morrison. I read that, I think, like 2 years ago. Really enjoyed it. I had given that one 5 stars as well, and I finally got around to picking up a full-length novel by Toni Morrison. And this one, wow, another author who was, oh my God, R.I.P. again. This is tragic for me right now. Oh my God. Anyway, another person who was an absolutely phenomenal writer, has such a strong voice. I also listened to the audiobook for this, like mixture of reading physically and with the audiobook. And the audiobook is narrated by Toni Morrison, and she just has such a lovely, calming voice. It was very delightful to listen to her, even though the contents of this book were quite a lot. We're following I forget how to pronounce her name. Sethi. She was born a slave, but she managed to escape. It's 18 years later, and she's living like in this cabin with her daughter, and it's kind of haunted by something that I will not say. And a new person shows up in her life and in her child's life. Actually, 2 new people. And we just kind of watch on how these dynamics impact everything and everyone. And it is such a dark and harrowing book. I feel like I don't know how to like talk about this book without like kind of spoiling things. But I think there's a lot of emphasis on motherhood and the lengths a mother will go to protect her child, or what she thinks is protection of her child, under very extreme disturbing circumstances where like neither option is really a good option. You know, it was so wild, and I really felt for Sethi, and I felt for her daughter, and just kind of everyone around both of these people. There's just like so much hurt and trauma that these people are experiencing. But it's a really good book, and I highly recommend it. Obviously, check out content warnings before checking this one out. It is quite dark. And the last book for this question, of course, I can't just answer the question with one book, but Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi. This is the prequel to Pet. This is following Jam's mother. Jam was the protagonist in Pet. And yeah, so we're following her mother, Bitter. We are in the city of Lucille once again, but prior to its kind of peaceful situation that we see in Pet, there's a lot of strife, lots of poverty. People are protesting the conditions. There's a lot of violence, and Bitter is kind of trying to figure out her place amongst all of this. She attends this school that's kind of like a safe haven for the students. And at a certain point, she kind of discovers some sort of latent magical ability, and how that kind of really ties into the story in the latter half, actually. And I think the best part of this book for me was how it kind of showed how everyone has a different role in revolution, and it doesn't always have to necessarily be on the front lines fighting, but there are other ways that you can help move along a revolution, like taking care of people, healing people, art, music, like therapy, all this kind of stuff. Like, there's no one way to participate in a revolution, and you need multiple roles to like care for the community. And I love that. And I love that you have this in a young adult book. And I love that that's a great message, I think, for the youth to read about. And I mean, it was so well written. It's Akwaeke Emezi. Y'all know I love them. So yeah, highly recommend Pet and Bitter. The next question is the best sequel that I read so far this year. I actually have an answer for this question. I feel like in years past, I haven't been really reading a lot of series. I have read some manga this year. I'm not going to count those because honestly, I kind of view manga as a totality. I'm not often looking at any individual volume particularly closely. Anyways, so I have read... Have I read some other sequels? I think I have. But the best one for me was The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in the 100,000 Kingdoms trilogy. And I didn't like this as much as the first one, but I did still really like this one. It was so interesting. I don't think I could ever hate an N.K. Jemisin book, to be honest. Another one of my favorite authors. But this one is following Ori, who is a blind artist, and she has this encounter with this mysterious man, and this kind of leads her on this wild journey. And we see some familiar faces, some familiar gods, some familiar characters from the first book, but we're mostly following Ori and this mysterious person who we also kind of know, but we don't know until midway through the book who this person is. But I thought it was so much fun. N.K. Jemisin writes relationships just so good, like such dynamic relationships, so interesting. I will never stop saying that I need N.K. Jemisin to write a true romantasy series, because it would eat. It would. But yeah, I love this series so far. Yeah. The next question is a new release that I haven't read but want to, and I have quite a few, but I'm gonna limit myself to two. The first one is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I believe I talked about this book and also the next book in my most anticipated reads video for 2024, which I'll have linked somewhere if you want to go and watch that. But this is like a literary fiction book following this person, and that is as much as I know. But I've heard nothing but great things about this book. A lot of my mutuals have read and loved this book. It just seems like something that I would love, so I'm excited to get to this one. And the next one is Thirst. This is also literary fiction, but about vampires. It says, across 2 different time periods, 2 women, 1 vampire, 1 mortal, confront a yearning that will not let them rest. A breakout genre-blurring novel from an exciting new voice of Latin America's feminist gothic. And this just sounds so good, and I really want to get to this soon. Both of these are books that I just want to read pretty quickly. And like I said, there's a ton of other books that came out that I want to get to, but I'm particularly excited about these 2. The next question is, what is my biggest disappointment so far this year? And don't hate me, guys, but I'm gonna have to say The Sword of Kaigen. I know, I'm shocked myself. I think I hyped this book up too much for myself. I've heard not a single bad review about this book. All of my mutuals who have read it have loved it. It's a standalone fantasy that's comped to Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was like, this is gonna be the book for me. And I finally got around to reading it, and it was not quite the book for me. I won't say that it was bad. Ultimately, I gave this book a 3, maybe 3.5 stars if I'm feeling generous. It kind of just depends on my mood. But it just did not live up to my expectations for a number of reasons. I don't know. I'm kind of contemplating making a standalone review video for that book, but I will just say that I thought the world building was very, very poorly done, but that the character work and the character development were really good. So it almost kind of balanced each other out a little bit, because I found myself very invested in these characters and what was going to happen to these characters, but the world building, the politics, the kind of outside forces that were moving this story forward, I just thought it was a bit lazy. And a part of that is because I feel like this isn't actually a true standalone. I know the author has written other books in this world, and it just feels like I'm missing something. It just constantly felt like I was missing something. Things would get touched on as if I should have known what that means, and I don't. There's a glossary in the back of the book. There is an over-reliance on the glossary to explain some of these terms, or just what all of these different countries are and how they are related to each other. I just felt like the world building needed to be done in the context of the story, and I don't think you should rely on a glossary. That should be secondary there as a reference, but it needs to be explained within the story. So in any case, I found it to be a disappointment purely because I was so excited for this and thought it was going to be my new favorite obsession, and it was not. So the next question is, what is the biggest surprise? And I don't know that I'm there's any book that totally surprised me, at least in a positive sense so far this year. But I will say Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I just don't know where I stand with Ali Hazelwood anymore. I know last year I did a Giving Authors a Second Chance 3-star author edition, and Ali Hazelwood was one of those authors, and I don't know. I don't know. Because I read 2 books from her this year, Bride and Check and Mate, and I enjoyed both of those. They weren't 5 stars or even amazing, my new favorite thing. But I enjoyed them for what they were. And so I guess I'm at a loss of my thoughts on Ali Hazelwood as an author. And I just feel like if anyone from Marioness's Discord is watching this right now, I know you guys are typing Ali Hazelwood's #1 fan right now, and I just want you guys to leave me alone. In any case, I thought Check and Mate was a surprise for me just because it was YA, and also, again, I feel so mixed about Ali Hazelwood. I didn't know what to expect. and I quite enjoyed it. I do think it's her strongest work so far of the books that I've read, and yeah, I liked it. It's like following these two chess players, and they have a relationship, and they also are going through their own things. I mean, it's single POV following, I think Mallory is her name, the FMC. And I liked her. I liked her as a character. I liked her journey. And I liked the romance. It was cute. And yeah, it definitely feels like more new adult than like YA maybe. But in any case, I think it's still fine for like an upper YA audience. And it was enjoyable. So yeah. The next question is, who is your new favorite author? I'm not sure if I have a new favorite author yet, but an author that is really intriguing me right now is Catherine M. Valenti. I've read 2 books so far by her. One I read 2 years ago, and that was Comfort Me with Apples, which was so eerie and so interesting. I really liked that book. And then I recently read The Past is Red, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in another question. But I really enjoyed both of them. I thought they were very unique and interesting. I love a good novella. You know, I love that we can wrap it up quickly and still have a really good story and character development. And yeah, I think she has some really interesting ideas and stories, and I definitely want to check out more from this author. I'm not sure that I would consider her like a new favorite yet, but on the way to that for sure. The next question is newest favorite fictional crush. For me, I would have to say two guys. One is Miles from Funny Story. I loved him, okay? I don't get the Nick comparisons. I feel like I'm constantly talking about this. I don't get the Nick comparisons from New Girl, okay? Miles is much more emotionally mature than Nick ever was, even by the end of that show. But anyways, I digress. I loved Miles. And I also loved Xavier from The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. I thought he was a swell chap, you know? Both of them, lovely guys. I don't really like do the whole book boyfriend thing, to be honest. So I'm like, yeah, these are nice guys. I love them. I don't think that much beyond having read the book though. Next is newest favorite character. I've been really contemplating this one because there isn't any one character where I'm like, oh my god, like this is my new favorite character. I have one from last year, and I don't know if I can't remember when I read this book. If it was in the second half of the book or second half of the year, I'm gonna count it. If it wasn't, then maybe not. But I want to say Anna Kus from To Shape a Dragon's Breath. I feel like I used her last year, but I just love her. She's my favorite character of recent years. But I guess I also quite liked Bitter from Bitter. I thought she was just like a very interesting and complex character, and I loved her journey. But yeah, I can't really think of like a character that like really became like a new favorite for me this year. The next question is, what is a book that made you cry? I feel like despite the fact that I'm a Cancer sign and I'm very emotional, I don't find myself crying all too much while reading books. There are certainly some books that have made me tear up and made me emotional. I'd say one of those is The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valenti. I don't know, I wouldn't say this was like a deeply sad book, but there were just like moments here that just like really resonated with me and made me very emotional, and I just like really felt for the character and the circumstances that she was in. This is following Tetley, who is the most hated person in Garbage Town, or like the world that she's in. This is like a science fiction, dystopian, kind of climate fiction book, and the world is basically gone kaput. There's no more land. It's literally just water, and you have like these massive piles of garbage just kind of like floating around that people are living on, and there's like kind of different sections that have turned into its own like neighborhoods or cities. Tetley's from Garbage Town, and there's something that happened early on in her life that has caused her to be hated by everyone in her town. And we're just kind of following, seeing what happened and just like how she deals with this. We're kind of following different stages of her life when she was a child, when she was a teenager, and when she was an adult. And I really love this. This really, really worked for me. I've said it before, this is a very voicey novel. If you are immediately annoyed by her voice in this, then I would suggest probably just stopping, because it kind of stays consistent throughout. There is some like growth, I feel like, but yeah, I really liked it. It was really interesting and good. And it also made me emotional. A book that has made me happy, I don't know. I feel like this one was also a little bit hard for me. I think I'm gonna go with Funny Story by Emily Henry, because I was just really happy that I liked it, because I really did not like Happy Place last year. So I was kind of feeling a bit iffy going into this one, but I quite liked it. And I just really loved Daphne and Miles' relationship. I loved it. I loved how it developed. This was a 4.5 stars for me. Like, had it been dual POV, which when will Emily Henry write a dual POV romance? I don't know. But had it been dual POV, it would have been 5 stars. Like, it would have bumped People Would Meet on Vacation from its top spot for me amongst her books. But yeah, I really liked it. I loved them going out and doing things. I loved the like friendship aspect between Daphne and Ashley. And yeah, I just had a good time with that book. Our penultimate question: what is the most beautiful book that you bought? And oh my God, am I so excited to show you these. So I am not a big special edition person. In fact, I believe we need the end to the special edition industrial complex, okay? That being said, part of why I feel that way is a little bit of saltiness, I will say, because none of my favorite books or the books that I like end up getting special editions all that often. And also, I'm just tired of these special editions coming out right as the book is coming out. Do you know what I mean? Like, give people a chance to read it, decide if they like it, and then purchase a special edition. I don't want to purchase a special edition of a book if I haven't read it yet and I don't know that I'm gonna like it. You feel me? In any case, finally my time has come with a special edition, and I got these from The Broken Binding, and it is the Parable Duology. I feel like it has a different name. The Earthseed Duology. So we have Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. Look at this. Do you see this? I need you to see this. Okay, here is, I hope you can see this. Okay, and we have this, okay? And yeah, it's just stunning, okay? Let me show you Parable of the Talents. Look at that. Gorgeous, beautiful, stunning. Love it. Okay. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Truly the most beautiful things I've purchased this year. And I just look at these, I just stare at them. They're just like, I mean, look at that, you know? Look at that. Yeah. And the last question: what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have 3, okay? First one, The Kingdom of Gods by N.K. Jemisin. I am finishing the Inheritance trilogy this year. I need to finish it, okay? Another series, actually you'll notice the theme is just finishing series that I've started. Parable of the Talents. You know, I did purchase these, and I haven't read this yet, but I know I'm gonna love it, okay? Octavia E. Butler is my girl, okay? My Cancer girl. Happy Cancer season to both of us. Love that for us, okay? So, Parable of the Talents. And lastly, if I can pick up this book, He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. I got to. I just am not mentally prepared for this one yet. Or Parable of the Talents. I know both of them are going to be a lot, you know. It's gonna be a lot. So those are my answers to the mid-year book freakout tag. I look forward to these every year. It's so much fun to reflect on the books that I read for the first half of the year. Very excited to see where this latter half is going to take me. Truly in shock every time I film this that it's like already midway through the year. Like July is on Monday, which is wild to me. What's even more wild to me, the fact that it took me over a month to edit this video. I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother to edit. I'm editing it right now on August 1st. That's wild to me. In any case, I would love to hear your answers to these questions, so comment down below. If you've read any of the books that I've talked about, let me know as well, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.